what's up? Today I'm going to be giving a film review for Shin Godzilla. Now this is actually also known as Godzilla Resurgence. And this is also like the reboot of the Godzilla film franchise, which was like in Tokyo, in Japan. Now I think this is actually like the third reboot of the Godzilla film franchise because I think they rebooted it like previous other times too as well. But this is actually supposedly like the third time that it has been rebooted. And this is also the 31st film in the overall like Godzilla film franchise. And I think like far as the Toho ones, like the ones come from Japan. So yeah, basically this is like, it kind of like wipes away the slate of like the other Godzilla films. Now I'm not too big on Godzilla, but I have seen like quite a few of them. I definitely seen like the American versions. But I have also seen like a lot of like the actual like Japanese versions too, where he comes from. I have seen like quite a few of those, like the original one, and a couple of other ones too as well. But this right here is kind of like you could tell it's actually like a reboot because it's actually a retelling like the Godzilla like story. Now they kind of keep like the music and soundtrack from the previous films, but it does have like Godzilla like kind of being shown being reborn, which I thought was actually like the coolest part of the film. And it was like fun, it was kind of fun since, because I think they said this is the actual like first Godzilla film that they did create in Japan with Toho Studios. They actually like use CGI effects instead of like a guy in a rubber suit like they did with the previous like Godzilla films. This particular version they actually did use CGI, in it as well. But yeah, it opens with like in Tokyo, Japan. There's like this like disturbance like in the actual like water like out in the ocean, like I guess you could say like the harbor basically. Like you see like water like boiling, like the temperatures rising and stuff like that. And then you get like stuff like happening in the city, I think with like electricity and all that. And the people are complaining about like what's going on, what's happening, everybody's on alert and stuff like that. Then suddenly you see like this large tail like like swinging around in the city, like in the water, like in the ocean. Then like the creature itself, they start announcing that there's like this huge creature in the city, like in the bay or whatever, the harbor. And then they say that it's coming on land, then it actually comes on land. Now when you see this, you actually see like screaming. It doesn't really look like Godzilla, you just see his back. Now you can tell from his back that it was, because you see like the spikes, like the spine things. I forget what they call them that's on his back. You get to see those, and he's like crawling through the city. Now that moment, I mean, it looks kind of, you could tell that obviously it was somebody like in a suit, kind of cheesy to a certain extent, but it did still look cool, seeing like, this rebirth of Godzilla, because it turns out that it was like Godzilla, because he's actually like in his first form, he's like mutating, and then he gets large and big, because at first he doesn't even have arms, he just has like his body and his tail too as well, but then eventually like, he keeps squirming through the city and knocking buildings down and stuff. And he even stands up at one point, you can tell it's like Godzilla, like his face, is still like changing, Then he falls back down and goes into the sea, But then later on he comes back as the full-blown Godzilla that we all know, Except he's kind of like, his look has been kind of like alternate. He has kind of like a brownish like look this time now versus it being black, I mean, it's still kind of black, but he has like this red, like, almost like he's like affected with something. Like I think they said the radiation caused something to him or something like that, because he has like a kind of like reddish like tone mixed in with his skin. Plus his eyes are like different too. They look like different. Now I must admit, this particular Godzilla did look scary and creepy too. Like moments, even though you can tell it's like a guy at certain times in the costume, it did look like terrifying and creepy. So he comes back and he started destroying the city and stuff like that. Then they get on alert and they start trying to, but he's not trying to destroy the city on purpose. It's almost like he's an accident. He just walk around, like just bumping into buildings and knocking them over and stuff. You can tell he wasn't like purposely doing this. It's just like he didn't know what he was doing. So they start attacking him with tanks and helicopters and all that kind of stuff. And those moments were even like cool and fun too and exciting too. Because that's when he uses like his atomic breath and all that. He like be spraying like out his mouth and stuff like that. So, but now he's also spraying like this these lasers out his tail too as well. And I heard that I always knew he didn't do that. Plus he's also spraying out his back too, like his spine things on his back, He also can spray it from there too now as well, Plus I noticed when he actually sprayed it out his mouth, his mouth like opens up wide too. So I noticed those are the differences I noticed in this one as far as like the older Godzilla films, Now, I must admit, this does feel like a true-blown like Godzilla film. You have him going around tearing up everything. Now, I don't want to spoil it, but there wasn't any like monster for him to fight or anything like that. It was just basically him against like the Japanese people or whatever. And he wasn't really like portrayed as like, you could look at him as being a villain, but he really wasn't. What he was doing, like the disturbance he was doing, was because they were attacking him, and plus he just was walking around, his size, it was just destructive because his size is like so massive, so he can help but be like walking through buildings and tearing them all down, but not purposely, But that was why they had to stop him, But in the end, I thought this was pretty fun. So that's basically what it was about, Godzilla being reborn. But they didn't know who he was. They even named him Godzilla at one point in the film, like Godzilla and stuff like that. Because it's like a restart of the franchise. So it's like it's starting over, And then they have to attack him and so on. And I thought like the performances and stuff, because I saw this in the theaters too. They had like a limited like week showing for it, in theaters. So I went and saw it in theaters. And I thought this was pretty decent, Now I thought like it started pretty good and it got halfway. It was like still pretty good, but once it started getting towards the end, I thought the pace of it started kind of like slowing down and it was like dragging, Because at one point they even kind of like froze. Like Godzilla went to sleep and he went to sleep standing up and he was just like froze. And that part was like long. It was like just like dragging, They had to figure out how to stop him even more while he was sleeping and stuff like that. So that part I thought was kind of like dragging a lot, But I like to see like the chaos and alertness of like the Japanese people, how they like were so alert, like what we gonna do, how we gonna stop them. I thought that kind of stuff was interesting, because something like this really could happen, once like some kind of huge like monster just came out of nowhere, like what would we do, what would they do, So yeah, in the end, I think Shin Godzilla, or you can call this Godzilla Resurgence, I'm aiming at giving this, I kind of want to give it a C, but I'm aiming at giving this a B minus, I recommend it for like Godzilla fans, or like just fans of like giant monster films, period, in general, But I guess for fans really of this film series, So that's my review for Godzilla, and I'm giving it a B minus, and I'll catch y'all later.